It's Red Hot 90s Action Summer here at the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We're covering your favorite sweaty 90s action movies all month long. Expect stunts galore, transportation mishaps, and lots of henchmen. We've got Schwarzenegger, Chan, and possibly even Reeves. It's going to be hot and steamy all August long. Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
I don't really remember. Having a hard time recalling today. What are we in? Red Hot 90s Action Summer? Is that what it is?
40s.
We're doing Red Hot 40s Action Summer.
We're doing John Wayne, support the military films.
That's right. All your noir favorites. That would be kind of a fun little thing to do, switch it up a little bit.
Noir November. You know what? We should do that.
Well, Noir November, but I was thinking we could go way back with our Red Hot Action Summer and do something like that. But no, yeah, we're in our second episode of 90s Action Summer Reloaded. And like I said, we kind of went in different directions this year. Last year, I think we picked pretty much all your standard type of action films from the 90s. This year, doing things a little bit differently. We've got a couple of sci-fi action films in here, which is one of the ones that we're going to talk about today. And we've never really done a sci-fi action film for the action summer. Now, we have done RoboCop in the past. Can't remember how long ago that was now. 2 years ago? Something like that?
I think 3 now.
Maybe 3, yeah. We do love our RoboCop on here, and we also love
our Verhoeven.
Yeah, Verhoeven as well. We've also done Starship Troopers. So we're right at home with the sci-fi action. But today we're talking about a little bit of a different one. One that is based on a Philip K. Dick story as well. You read a lot of Dick?
No.
No.
Fun fact about me, I don't like reading books.
Wow.
I mean, I like...
Good news is...
I like reading, like, newspapers and news articles and, things that are going on, but... And I've mentioned it before, but fiction has never really grabbed me. Like, the only time I remember in high school when we were reading, books and stuff of, me being interested, or, when they had some kind of historical context. That's why, in 10th grade, we did a lot of historical context books, like Huck Finn and All Quiet on the Western Front. It's like, ooh, this, Caesar, it was this, the Shakespeare play we did that year. I like Philip K. Dick for the most part. I haven't read a whole lot from him. The good news is here for you, this is a short story, so you don't have to read I guess it's a novelette. It's longer than a short story, but not as long as a novel. So is it a novella or is it even shorter?
I think it's even shorter than a novella. Wikipedia calls it a novelette, which... yeah. Someone tried to explain it on the Wikipedia, actually, because it links to the novella and it says versus novelette, and it says basically the same thing. Maybe a little bit shorter, but they can be used interchangeably. So we're mincing words here, but yes, technically a novelette. So it's probably 70 pages, 80 pages. I don't know. I don't believe that I have read the novelette associated with this movie, which is called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale.
What about, because I do know Philip, the author, I know all of them. So have you read Do Androids, Dream of Electric Sheep?
No, I haven't. Most of the things that I've read from him are just short stories, that I've read a few of his short stories. I haven't read, like I said, I haven't read much of him, but I do know what I've read, I've enjoyed. He's a great science fiction author. So definitely would recommend checking out his work. Has influenced kind of like Richard Matheson, has influenced a lot of media. A lot of his stories ended up being turned into films, from Blade Runner, to this film that we're talking about, to Minority Report. I think A Scanner Darkly was one of the ones that was like kind of took a little while for them to adapt, but that one got adapted in the 2000s. So he's really influenced a lot of media, and just like Richard Matheson, sometimes his works have, I believe, been used or at least influenced a lot of like short TV specials and things like that, you know, sort of a Twilight Zone-esque things, or The Outer Limits. So really, really highly influential. And the film that we're talking about today, also adapted from Philip K. Dick, which is called Total Recall. What do you think about the name change? Which generally they do change, and in most of Philip K. Dick's output, they've ended up changing the name of the film so that it almost is unrecognizable unless you actually know it was adapted from a Philip K. Dick story.
Well, I mean, as I just imagine, Blade Runner is not instead, Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep?
Yeah, which one do you like more on that one?
Well, they're both, one's a great book title.
Yeah.
For, the other's a great film title.
Okay.
And I would say the same thing with this. It's a, we'll remember it for you for wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great title.
Yep.
Is it a great for a film? It's not going to drag you in, but kind of,
Italians might think so. Italians use it.
They're like, "Yeah, this is going to be our next zombie film." But but Total Recall, the idea. So the idea with Total Recall being memories coming back to you in a flood. That, especially with the film itself and how it plays out, is much more grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love them all. I love them both, but I think one's good for a novel or a book or written work. Others more suited for the visual medium.
I mean, for sure, Total Recall definitely has more of that action film style 90s feel to it, whereas Philip K. Dick's story is sort of the title itself. It has a lot of play on words where. You can see a number of people going, I don't know what the fuck that means. But I really like the title of the original because it kind of says everything it needs to right in the title, right? It sounds like a corporate slogan. We can remember it for you wholesale. But then it also, gives you that idea that how can someone else remember it for you? To set up that that idea that they are conjuring up these memories for people instead. So I think it's a perfect title for his work. But again, yes, you're right. Total Recall for a film title sounds a lot more like to hook people. And again, these things also have to fit on posters and such. So we need to have enough space to get Schwarzenegger's face and Sharon Stone's face on the poster. And the title from Philip K. Dick is just a little bit too long. So
the thing is too, the funny thing is the fucking theatrical poster is they ripped off TNG.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the font and everything. Schwarzenegger is Captain Picard, and
either that or it also reminds me a lot of the Stargate series because the how they have that pyramid sort of thing at the bottom of it with the Marsian pyramid. It definitely reminds me of Stargate. Because that I think that pyramid or triangle structure is a big part of Stargate. So yes, it definitely has both of those elements to it, I think. And again, too, definitely missed out on having Sharon Stone on that poster. I don't know why they didn't. But they didn't. Of course, it was Sharon Stone's 90s hot girl period of time. So, you big fan of Total Recall? Seen it a lot?
Yeah, love it. It's easily, I think, a top 10 sci-fi and action film.
Mm-hmm. It's my first time actually watching the whole thing. I've seen the remake that they did, back in the 2000s?
2010, 2011.
Don't really remember that one too much.
Well, it has Colin Farrell in it. So why would you bother?
I definitely, I do recall watching it at one point, but I like in terms of quality or even if it is any way reminiscent to this film, I really don't know. I can't. I think that probably says it all. It's not really that memorable. But yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Why does Hollywood think it's appropriate to take Paul Verhoeven films and be like, we can make more money on this, and they never do?
Yeah.
It's like the first go around was fine enough, and it'll get you, sales on DVD, VHS, Blu-ray. Why bother? You're not gonna reinvent the wheel and make it more exciting. You haven't done it with RoboCop.
The same idea behind making like Starship Troopers 4 or whatever they're up to now. Those direct-to-videos.
Well, those are Casper Van Dien art projects,
yeah. Oh, that's the other thing that this reminds me of too, which just popped up when I was looking. The poster artwork is reminiscent of, well, actually, I should say the opposite. The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element's poster artwork is reminiscent of Total Recall, I should say, because that was not until 1997.
Yeah, no, you're right. That definitely also,
Yeah, very, very, very similar. They got the same graphic designer for both. Just grabbed him, said, this seems like right up your alley. Come on in and do this artwork. All right. Yeah, like I said, never seen it. You've seen it a bunch. I've never seen it until now. But again, glad to have rectified that, as we'll talk about as we get into the movie. But let's take a break real quick from our scream in action to talk about the beer that we have on the show today, which you picked out. What'd you get for us?
I guess is another Sloop, our local Fishkill brewery. I saw it out in the wild. It had a nice can, had a nice name to it, and it's not an IPA for once. It's actually a sour ale with tart cherry and a ripe pineapple, aka jungle juice.
Yeah, a gose style.
It definitely is, because it's definitely got
it's got that
puckerness.
Tart gose element to it that I like to say, no offense to any of them, but they all kind of have a similar taste to them. When you get into that like tartness, there comes a point where like the tartness of fruit is so tart that it's almost hard to distinguish where that tartness is coming from. Did it come from a nectarine? Did it come from a grape? I don't know. It's just fucking tart. That's how I always kind of picture a gose. But
and I would agree too, because it's like more pucker factor than it is the fruit that's in there. And that is true to a degree with this Sloop one. To be honest with you, I don't think we've ever had a Sloop sour ale.
I can't recall.
I can't remember.
Oh, there it is again.
It's gonna
happen. Puns are not intended. I just say recall quite a bit. So
recall. But I don't remember ever having one like a sour ale, or if they've ever even made one. I'm sure they have. But it caught my eye because cherry, pineapple, shitty heat that we've been having this summer sounds delightful. And it's not bad. It's not bad for a gose. First thing that you get is a lot of tartness, just very straightforward pucker warhead feeling. You get a little bit of the, medicinal cherry with a cherry sweetness too. Doesn't taste artificial. I have a hell of a time. I don't even pick up any of the pineapple, which is a shame because I think a cherry pineapple mix would be really good. That pineapple could also mild out the pucker factor of this beer, but it's okay. Like for a gose, I mean, these beers are always, they are what they are. They're more pucker factor, warhead, sour factor, and whatever fruit that is tied to that style is more of a blessing to, even it out. So it's not bad. I wouldn't go out of my way ever for it again. Unless you're somebody who likes these type of beers. Also, probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's not bad or anything.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that this is pretty good. I don't think I've ever had a sour from Sloop before, so it's a new style for, at least for me, to try from them. Um, I think this is pretty good. Again, with the gozes, as I said, I think a lot of times, no matter what fruit is marketed on the gose, it all tends to kind of come out to be that um, same basic flavor to it. Where it creates a tartness and a sourness, but it's not necessarily apparent what is causing that to occur, and the individuality of the fruit that's used is not always like readily apparent. And so I think that that's probably what's happening here as well. You've got that tart cherry, it's adding that sourness to the beer. There's probably some pineapple or pineapple juice or pineapple flavoring in here, but I think it's getting overpowered a little bit by just the overall tartness of the beer and the cherry flavoring. And that's not necessarily just a Sloop thing or this beer. It seems to happen quite a bit with gozes, and I found that they all kind of have a very particular flavor to them. It's almost kind of like wine, I think, in a way, where unless you're, a sommelier and you really have a great palate for that sort of thing, you have one red wine, and they tell you what grape it is, and then you have another dark red wine, and they tell you it's a different grape, and you're like, I don't know, it just tastes like, it tastes like a grape to me. I'm sure there are subtle differences that people can pick out, but I feel like the same idea is apparent in this jungle juice. Now, I also want to talk about the red can, and the font on the can almost makes me think jingle juice, as though this should have been a Christmas style beer. And I think Sloop would be smart to remarket this again and say, you know what? We made jungle juice. Here's jingle juice. And this is a sour ale with winter berries and winter things. So just a marketing gimmick for you, Sloop. I'm thinking jingle juice, and you can use the same color can and everything. Because it does remind me of like a Christmassy sort of thing.
I think you're thinking that just because.
How about sour tart cranberry? That's what
I was gonna say. That would be low. That'd be lovely. I think you're thinking of that though, just because you're in a Phil Hartman mood.
Yeah, right.
This film has made you want to jingle all the way.
Jingle all the way. That's right. I agree with that. I think we had talked about that. I guess moving on into the film. We had talked about that a little bit because this is Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1990 at this point, right? And he's had a few years to hone in on his craft in action films and straight up action films. Things like Predator. Commando, yeah, which we've done before. Both of those actually we've done before. And he's had a few years to hone in on the action and actually just acting in general, right? And by this time in the 90s, he's actually starting to branch out a little bit. And I think we see that to a certain extent in Total Recall, because while it is an action movie, it does have Verhoeven's kind of brand of humor to it and wry comedy at times, and stuff that we would see in something like RoboCop. And that kind of bleeds over into Total Recall, and I think it also is presented pretty well by Arnold Schwarzenegger, because in this film, he is sort of set out to be, even though he has an alternative identity, the person that we initially meet in the movie is a dude who's supposed to just be a regular guy, kind of thrown into this scenario that he eventually finds himself in, of being sort of having an alternative identity, being a sort of what they call a secret agent.
Like I was going to say, like a Detective John Kimball.
Yes. And I think that works kind of well because he's sort of the everyman character, I guess it's hard to see, me sitting here 150 pounds, seeing myself as the everyman character of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie. But I think that's kind of the intention of starting the film off like that, where you see him, he's just a regular guy. He's a construction worker, okay? He just jackhammering for a living. Whether it's jackhammering rocks or jackhammering Sharon Stone, it's one of the two. So he's just a regular dude. And I think that leads pretty well into his ability to kind of not be as serious and you know, action figure-y as some other protagonists of action films. And that kind of reminded me a little bit of Jingle All the Way. I guess that was a really roundabout way to get to that. But
well, you're right though, because to be fair, it is weird. Like this construction worker, and especially when we get to see him on the job, fucking, everyone's just Joe Natural, and he's here. Like what's Arnold doing this? I guess fucking hitting Sharon Stone with back shots makes you, super hit. Like I don't.
He just in his spare time, he's just throwing things around. In his little apartment building there. So,
it's all that Avion water.
I think, again, though, because of the way that plays out, it really makes him seem, it is kind of a precursor to where he would go with things like Jingle All the Way, where he is still sort of showcasing his action sensibilities, but also, in that film, he's just a dad too, right? He's just a dad who's trying to win over his son's affections by getting the latest toy that he forgot for Christmas. And that has sort of the inane comedy of that as well. And I think that this film, though it's not necessarily meant to be overtly funny, and, it is still ultra-violent in the Verhoeven way, and still has a lot of, over-the-top action sequences and things like that. It does still have some of that dry comedy that is prevalent in a lot of Verhoeven's films. Probably this one being the least, from my experience, probably the least like overtly somewhat satirical. Probably less so than like something like RoboCop or Starship Troopers. I don't know. To me, though, it does still have a little bit of that comedy, though it's probably a little bit more hidden in the nature of the film with the all of its science fiction elements and futuristic elements. So yeah, I mean, the film basically, I think it has a really great premise, and that basically comes from Philip K. Dick's short story of the fact that there's a company and they sell memories.
What's this company called?
Recall.
With a K.
Yeah, not just it would not be intense enough if it was just the regular spelling of recall. It's REKAL, because that there's something off kilter about this company.
More businessy.
Mm-hmm. Easier to market. And so they're in the business of selling memories, and that's kind of where that idea of we can remember it for you wholesale comes in. They're literally selling memories. And I like the way that this is presented, because at the beginning of the film, after Arnold's character wakes up and he's sort of had this dream of a Mars that he's never been to, he kind of is
and has his head imploded from.
The whole Mars atmosphere basically turns him into a pancake head.
Yeah.
I like this idea because he goes to recall, and he basically wants to be sold this memory of something that he didn't have. And so they kind of market it as like you're taking a trip, but you're not taking like a literal trip. You're not actually going there. It sounds like he really wants to go to Mars, but instead what they're doing is they're just implanting a memory of you actually going to Mars. And like, that's a cool idea. I like the idea. It's sort of like, again, it's something that obviously Inception was very influenced by, is that implanting of an idea or a memory.
I was going to say with like also too, with like Cyberpunk with brain dances using,
yes.
Mods to put,
memories
and such into your mind and be able to watch them back. And,
absolutely.
And as I say, it's great to watch that whole scene too, when he goes to recall and he's like, he knows he wants to go to Mars. It's all like, because of the dream he's been having. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I just want a normal trip to Mars. And the guy's like, well, you can have options. You could be like, who wants to just go to Mars and be you're just going to Mars. Like, we got billionaire, playboy, athlete, tycoon, and and then you got at the he sees it and he's like, oh, secret agent. I want to be a secret agent, and he's like, well, for an extra 300 credits, how could you say no?
I do fucking love that when he sees secret agent, because at the beginning when they talk about ego trip, he's like, I don't know, why wouldn't I want to be myself? Why wouldn't I be, and then all of a sudden secret agent comes on the screen and he's like, what? Secret agent, and
they would never let me play James Bond in any of the movies because I have such a thick Austrian accent, so I have to pretend to be James Bond in these films.
I feel like the usage of the term secret agent too has kind of gotten colloquially kind of goofy at a certain point, because you've got like the song "Secret Agent Man."
Hold on, time out. One. That Johnny Rivers song is amazing. Secret Agent Man is a great song.
Do you think it cheapifies the...
It's cheapified because of the Austin Powers first movie where they're raiding the base, and they do, but it's not cheapified though because that's so cool when like Elizabeth Hurley and Austin and all the guys show up to take on Dr. Evil's, goon squad, and you're like, there's a man who needs a life of danger. Because again, at the same time, the 60s, and you would know this too, the 60s just weren't Bond a secret agent. You had fucking Mr. Smart, Mission Impossible, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Sorry, Get Smart, Mission Impossible, and there were a billion things out there at the time because, it was all part of the craze, but... No, I do agree though, because it does come off as, because it's like, well, you get to be a billionaire playboy, this, that, secret agent.
Right. It doesn't seem like it would be what ends up leading to his whole, the memory that he gets in Total Recall. It sounds more like you're going to be wearing a top hat and a briefcase walking around with your specialty glasses and, solving a mystery or something, not what's going on in this film. But that is a good point though too, because again, if they're selling you memories and you want to go on vacation, how do you sell these things? You have to make them exotic. Yep. You don't
because again, at this time he could literally, because his wife he tells his wife how he wants to vacation on Mars, and Sharon Stone's like, you don't want to go to fucking Mars. You hate Mars. Let's go to Saturn. He's like, no, I want to go to Mars. You don't get it. You're being an idiot. Stop it.
I'm sorry you want to have sex with me right now, but I don't want to. I want to go to Mars.
I want to go to Mars and find a brunette because your titties are saggy. So, yeah.
I love that.
But but the whole setup, the whole
it's great, and I love that. Again, this is kind of where that satirical nature comes in a little bit from Verhoeven. Is the the kind of the smarmy businessman who's like, don't worry about. You've heard about some people having lobotomies, so don't worry about that. It's okay. No, that doesn't happen here. That was far in the past. We're offering this new ego trip that you're going to want to take. Don't worry about that. And then later on, after they show Arnold having the schizoid embolism and writhing around on the floor, and you've got him basically trying to offer a new package to a lady, and they're calling there's something wrong. And while she's like, do I still want to go through with this, or I don't know. It's great. I love all those interludes and sort of again, it maybe less so than RoboCop, but there are still a number of nice little ads and stuff that pop up in the background of this satirical nature that you would get from a Verhoeven film. So I do really like that. I think the setup is great, and it does do a pretty good job of just basically explaining the concept to the viewer enough to where it's not really in your face, oh, is he just going to be going into this dream and kind of not, it doesn't really set that up to be an expectation of the viewer. But at the same time, it does a good job of explaining it to the viewer so they know approximately what's going to go. Yeah, how it works, and without needing to go into 30 minutes of exposition about it. So I think that works.
Which I haven't seen, but I'm sure the remake does that for us. So
Yeah.
explaining every minute detail with techno babble that nobody wanted on. Like, how does recall work?
Yeah, first we inject the serums to the. Yeah, I love that. And not only that too, but I think again, it does just enough with that to where it sets up the expectation, and it has a number of dialogue cues that sort of set it up for the literal recall towards the end of the film that work really well, and just kind of sets that in motion and sort of plants the seed of doubt in the viewer's mind without actually having to say anything about it. It kind of just puts it out there, mentions a few things, and then there's the flashbacks to it later on that make you think. And I think that works really well for this movie. It does a great job with that. But once he gets into the recall, I mean, it's pretty much action all the way forward after that, and a lot of running back and forth between different areas of and jumping around too between Arnold's character, who initially is Quaid, and then him, assuming a different identity and actually watching a video of himself basically running down how he can avoid all the Cohagen's henchmen, especially led by Richter, played by Michael Ironside.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Famed, beautiful character actor.
Very, very true. Recently, starred in a couple different films, including Nobody 2, which is coming out very soon.
That man is in it for the love of the game.
That's right.
He's literally in everything.
Or is he in it just because he loves Bob Odenkirk? Who knows? But yeah, again, Michael Ironside is a great character actor, as you said. Has a very distinctive look and personality that he's pretty much maintained throughout his acting career. If you think about him in movies like Starship Troopers to Total Recall, there's not a lot of
from like this to Scanners. He looks like he hasn't aged a day.
Exactly.
It's like he's had a permanent, receding hairline since the poor man was 14 years old, and this disposition.
And not only that, but again, he always has a certain sense about him, a certain just basic persona that he portrays, and I think it's really great. And again, this is one of those people who you might say has been typecast quite a bit. And I guess I don't want to speak for him, but it seems like it's just the thing that he likes to do as well, is to be typecast in this sort of role. So works really well, him as a villain, and I think he's a great foil to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And also gets to smooch on Sharon Stone. So
that's his wife.
Yeah. Gets to smooch her. So, of course, again, every man jealous of that too. So what do you think about the whole setup of, especially when you first meet Michael Ironside, who gets called in by Sharon Stone, who's supposed to be Arnold Quaid's wife, calls him in, says, "Hey, we got a problem here," and then they basically come swarming in with a SWAT team. And
so I was gonna say, I think it's a good setup too, and I do because again, he chooses secret agent.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very convenient, and we'll get into this as we talk about which side of the film you're on viewing it. It's very convenient for while Arnold's undergoing recall he's having a schizoid embolism. What the fuck are you doing? And he's fighting everyone off and no, I'm really a secret agent. That whole setup is great because again, it could be real, could not be real. But Michael Ironside coming in and being like the henchman, he's awesome. He's such a badass in this film. He's so menacing and surly.
Sure.
It's just great. He's just great. But again, the setup is great because again, it's just this great idea. Arnold's a Disney princess, and he really is in this film because again, like with his Sharon Stone, like, honey, stop watching the news. What you're too stressed out. That's why you keep having this dream, and like we should go on vacation. Let's go to Saturday. He's like, I was meant to be more than something. I was just, I'm more. I am supposed to be Cinderella. I'm supposed to be me.
Yeah.
Like he's just basically like a Disney princess.
Sure.
It's like he's like, with a physique like this, I shouldn't be just jackhammering Alex next to Hattie. And it's like, that's your life, bud. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're totally right. Relating it back to sort of like a Disney princess style thing where, women want to be transported to a magical world where a man is at their every beck and call and, feel like they're in the power position. And the same is true of men, except in this case, they want to be the action hero, the action star, and again, here we are tying it back to Jingle All the Way of, ultimately that's who Arnold is in that film too, is looking to be the superhero, whether it be in his own family for his son or the literal superhero of the, of the TV show. But at the same time, I do think that you're right on with that idea that this is sort of like the male fantasy scenario of why they would pick these sorts of things. Because again, like,
especially with like Arnold's output in the mid 80s.
Sure.
Like, I just want to run around and gun people down in my children's Alyssa Milano and I'm petting a deer. And then,
And I mean, it offers up an interesting scenario as well of like, when you are a paying customer for that sort of experience, how do you, like, I guess, if you knew exactly what Secret Agent entailed, would you want to go through with that recall for one thing? Because, you at least in terms of when you come out of that recall, you have the memory and it sort of seems like as how the film describes it, it seems like a distant memory that you would remember and know and think that it happened, but it really didn't. And you weren't in any danger. But you're kind of putting yourself in a situation where morally, ethically, physically, you feel like you are in imminent danger and peril all the time. And I wonder, if a recall marketed it as such, would you be as likely to pick something like Secret Agent? Or would you just pick Playboy Billionaire and just,
you're being raped. Like, you're literally being mind fucked.
Yeah.
And, obviously, with the way the world's set up, this society would have no problem with that.
Sure.
But I mean, this is one of the reasons why I watch cyberpunk things because we like that kind of stuff here, like Ghost in the Shell and stuff. I would be like, I can't remember his name, the one guy with the mullet, not Bato and like Ghost in the Shell, but the guy with the mullet and the revolver. Like, I'm not connected to the internet. Why? I don't want my brain fucked with. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, the chips and all this shit. Fuck that. No, thank you. I'll stay away from that. I don't.
Yeah. And I think, Total Recall, it is pretty prescient in the way that it imagines certain things. So again, there are elements to this of like, drug use for one thing. Do you do LSD and acid and, hallucinate your, all of these scenarios occurring? Or do you like to stay away from that because you'd rather not experience any of the unfortunate consequences of something like that where your brain wiring is forever screwed up because of that? Or even now like VR and AR, do you put yourself in like a VR situation where morally there's some gray area? Because Total Recall kind of explores that as well, because not only does Arnold pick to be a secret agent, but he knows that comes with the package of like, hey, you get the girl as well. And it doesn't happen to be your wife. It doesn't happen to be Sharon Stone. It happens to be this brunette that you really want to, you've been dreaming about. And
which I also think too is tied in. Because again, I think it's a fantasy because like I'm tired of being, because we find out when he's talking later, like, how long you been married for? He's like 8 years. Like, he's bored. He's tired. He wants something different.
The escape of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think that, again, that like none of these things are really explored explicitly within Total Recall. It's more so just something that Verhoeven kind of offers up to the audience. Like, to be honest with you, it doesn't really explore the ethical consequences of something like a recall memory. It kind of just presents it, and the idea of ethics or morality kind of comes from the viewer itself. It's because no one really questions that. They're just like, oh, okay, you want to do a recall and you have a different wife in that one, or you want to go and murder people in this recall, whatever. Who are we to judge? It doesn't really, offer up any specific criticism or messaging about that. But at the same time, it just presents it as sort of an impact of having something like this, where you implant a memory and that might occur. So I think that all of that really works well to the film's advantage, because it doesn't need to explicitly talk about any of those things. It just presents it as is. And again, so there's an interesting scenario of how Arnold kind of envisions himself as like the savior of the Mars
Rebellion.
The Mars Rebellion. He's kind of the big guy who comes in and saves the day, because the Mars Rebellion is sort of failing with Cohagen, and Quato is not able to kind of like get the job done. So he comes in and basically has to be the one to save the entire Mars race from Cohagen basically colonizing all of Mars, and basically pulling a Trump and saying, you get air, but you don't get air, and we'll withhold it from you until you do what we want. So I think again that is a funny moralism to the film of like being that savior character who comes in for entire race of people. And that's kind of explored throughout, and it's explored through a number of double crossings and triple crossings and double crossing, and your own self double crossing you. And what do you think about that? Like the whole, the reveals later on of like, Arnold's been working against himself the whole time. You've got.
So I think I think. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I think if the film wants to lean into, this is really going on. He's really a secret agent. I think like when you find out that like he has a secret, he has a former life as Karl Hauser, and he's trying to help him. Fine, but I think once you get into the territory, like, oh, we were actually, we were working with Cohagen the entire time. It gets too like cartoony and like. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think for the interpretation of this film to be, if this is supposed to be real reality in real life, like it becomes like a complete joke.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's funny too, because at first, like when you see him as he's talking to his briefcase and like finding out what's going on, and he's giving him the info, and it's like, yeah, like he's okay, well, this is what's going on. And then later I was like, ha, you dumb bastard. We did it. If you see me now, we won. We beat Quato, that motherfucker. That baby. Now I'm going to be an Indian giver. And I'm going to take your body back. It's just, becomes like Rocky and Bullwinkle levels of like, like kind of gag.
And I mean, I think like some of that is a little bit intentional, because it is in effect a way to present to the audience something that maybe feels unrealistic. And I mean, again, that term is sort of relative in this film, because again, we are subject to a lot of disbelief of we're kind of subject to a new world. It's sort of a futuristic world. It's sort of a world that again, sometimes you question, you're like, why do they do that? Like they have all these really inventive ways of doing things, but then they have to ride around in like a fucking taxi, like an inconvenient taxi where a robot still talks to you like I normally, in the future, I would envision a scenario where I don't need to talk to anybody when I get into a taxi cab. It just drives me where I want to go. I don't want to converse with make any small talk or anything like that. But in this futuristic world, you still have to make small talk with annoying robot in taxi cab. So
the Johnny Taxi.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like, you know, it's really got an interesting dynamic to it of you know, again, setting aside this disbelief of like this futuristic world, there are still a lot of ultra unrealistic scenarios that are occurring in this movie that sort of make the audience think that, yeah, maybe this could all be a dream, you know, which leads to the conclusion of the film where they basically question that, you know, with characters that effectively literally say just that, you know, because Arnold at the end is asking, well, what if this is a dream? And Melina is basically like, well, even if it is, let's enjoy it while it lasts. You know, so I think the film leaves it open-ended and ambiguous as to what you should take from the finale, but what do you think of the film's whole crux? Do you think it is just a recalling memory, or is it a real event that's occurring?
I think it's a recall. I find like I get that there's ambiguity here that can make you think either one is real, but in my head, I've always like it has to be a dream. It has to be part of like his recall experience, because again, it goes like it becomes so outlandish, so cartoonish, so over the top. And not only that, though, too, you know, but, you know, when he's like choosing like what to do, like, oh, blue skies on Mars. And that's how the film ends. You know, it has to be. I don't like buy into like he's having a schizoid issue or anything. Because again, if he was having like a schizoid issue, if he like, you know, I just don't buy it. Because I don't think it, you know.
I mean, towards the middle of the film, I think it, you know, again, there is a certain point where the film again tries to make the viewer question that, where the one doctor comes in, Dr. Edgemar, who comes in and he pitches a really good pitch of like, well, you know, you are currently in a schizoid embolism. You think you're here, but you're really just having a recall, and we've actually lost you. Like you're kind of lost in this scenario, and you can't get out unless we actually try to break it. And I think like, again, that pitch is really like, even for the audience, it's really it makes sense, right? It makes sense that he's, you know, it puts that doubt in your head that like, you know, maybe he is in this recall.
Well, it's the same as the Matrix, with like the whole, you know, take the red pill and you'll go back to sleep or whatever, you know, or the blue pill. I can't remember.
Or red pill, red pill.
Yeah, or, you know, take the red pill and we'll see how far the rabbit hole goes. You know, because you know, the pill that he's given here is a red pill, so it's like the same thing like here, like you know, we'll end this trip or you can keep on going, like which is which is funny, like that's a great scene too, because I think like having him pop up to like make it feel like, you know, he is becoming like erratic and he's gonna kill himself and other people. I think that's a great concept, but I don't think I'm trying to think how to say this. It's a great idea and stuff, but I think the fact when we see the doctor's like sweat beating down and he decides to kill him, that like, okay, like he's, you know, no, I'm the secret agent. Like, I think if like that also to me too makes it seem like would argue would add on to the belief that this is all part of his memory in the recall, you know, adventure that he's on. If it didn't have that and he decided to blow the doctor's head off, would add a hell of a lot more ambiguity. Especially because, like, his wife's there and, like, she's like, please, please. And then, like, right after, she's like, you fucking idiot, you know, like. I think, like, for the purpose of leaving the scope of the film open and more ambiguous, I think, like, you know, if he made the decision himself to kill the doctor, and not show that like he's sweating, like he's nervous about what's about to go on because he's like, take the pill, and he's like, put it in his mouth, and he's like, swallow it. Which, by the way, I can't do. I can't swallow pills dry.
You can't?
No, God, no.
Huh.
I need a drink to kick that shit back. I can't do it by myself.
Wow. That's surprising.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I just when you grow up, most of the time you just swallow pills. I don't know.
Oh, I can't.
You just grow up and you just do it. I don't know.
I guess I'm Peter Pan over here.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it offers up an interesting idea, and it's sort of like, again, it's kind of in a good segment too, because it's about halfway through, kind of sets up that scenario for the viewer of like, maybe I should question this, and then later on, and again, even at that point, I was still, thinking, it could be a recall, but I'm kind of prone to thinking that it was not. And there's a couple of reasons for that, but I think one of the biggest ones is that, again, the film is presented in such a way that it is sort of omniscient. It's not like we're just following Arnold's character throughout the film. We get cutaways to, just meeting with Cohagen and Richter. And so I think like those types of things, those cutaways, again, are part of the narrative process of a film. And so it kind of makes you think like we're within the film. And again, you can explain it away by saying, well, maybe those memories are still just implanted by the recall as a company, and they're sort of like a third person memory that's implanted. And, because dreams kind of work that way too. Sometimes people dream, they might be a different person, or they might dream that they're outside of their body, and yet, they are still doing the action. So you can kind of suspend disbelief in that regard, but it did make me think that no, what we're seeing is actually truth. And then towards the end of the film, as things start to progressively get more insane, I guess is the best word for it, from the fact that like, again, we've got Quato coming out of a dude's abdomen. And then from there, we've got like this really elaborate ruse of Arnold setting himself up. And then later on, working with Cohagen, and Cohagen's actually trying to save the world, but then he, sets off the reactor, which turns Mars's atmosphere breathable again. I think like all of that put together really does make it seem like somebody wrote this, and made it into a recall memory instead of something that's actually happening.
Well, yeah, like the whole like, it's all very convenient.
Yeah.
Like there's an alien reactor down here, and it can turn, the atmosphere into Mars into breathable. Yeah, if you just activate the reactor, puts the pipes in, and it melts the ice because there's ice down here. It'll turn everything into, the oxygen, because people, the people here are having a hard time fighting over oxygen.
Yep. And then not only that, you've got a woman with 3 breasts, which of course is going to be some dude's fantasy instead of an actual reality. So,
how do you like the fact when they get to Mars that like for the bars and stuff, they're like sleaze bar, like for the advertising on the windows as like you're walking around. It's like, what kind of bar is this? It's a sleaze bar.
I love it. Yeah, it's a nice little way of having them have a sort of like a red light district. But calling it something else because this is a futuristic movie. It takes place on Mars. This isn't Earth anymore. We call it something different here.
Where you at? You're at Sleaze Bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think it works pretty well. And again, too, I would argue that the film gets its mileage worth from the prosthetics that it uses. The three boobied prosthetic, because it uses that not once, not twice, but like 3 times, I think. So, you want to get your money's worth paying for that.
Do you think that's intentional? 3 times the 3 titty lady?
3 times for it. Yeah, maybe.
There's the song that she's got playing in the bedroom as like you're about to head out and make love to this honest woman. Is it Kenny Rogers once, twice, 3 times a lady?
Yeah, right. Yes. But again, too, we have to, state pretty vehemently that why would Arnold want to do a recall for Melina rather than his own wife, Sharon Stone, who is, again, in the 90s, just smoking hot in this movie, with a pink tube top and practicing her tennis skills. Why would you go anywhere else?
And even before Basic Instinct, another, that would be her next film with Paul Verhoeven. Yeah, no, I'm not saying, because it's going to sound mean, I'm not saying that Melina is bad looking or anything. She's fine. That perm she has does her no justice. I get it. It's 1990. A little bit different times. But holy shit, does that, just... No. I just want to be by the time I'm done making love to you, I just want to feel like I'm wrapped in a spider's web because of the hairspray. It's just... I don't get it.
I agree. I agree. I think Sharon, again, I was telling you, when you show up in a pantsuit and you still look hot, you're just a hot person. I see a pantsuit and hot generally don't go together.
No, they never do because they're baggy and unassuming. They're basically the West version of a Muslim cloth
But here again, you've got Sharon Stone showing up in a pantsuit and still looking great, and it's sort of you can't argue it. It's what are you going to do? You can't argue the hotness of Sharon Stone in this film. And unfortunately, she does not get that much screen time. She does get to do a lot of nice butt kicking with her kickboxing maneuvers that she's got in this film, but would have liked to have seen more of her because she's great. What else? What else did we talk about? We didn't talk about Jerry Goldsmith's score. What do you think about that?
It's Jerry Goldsmith, so it's a good fine. It's a good fine score and fits the film. Adds the right amount of tension. Keeps things moving. Doesn't overstay its welcome and make you feel like excuse me as I'm burped here. Makes you feel like you're being suffocated by the sound, so good on him.
I agree.
What about the action? Because again, people think of this film as a sci-fi film. Ryan, what do you think about the action, Total Recall?
It's pretty good. Again, I think it has quite a bit of action. It's got a lot of, like I said, Verhoeven's sort of ultra-violent squibs quite a bit. A lot of shooting that takes place. A lot of explosions, even unnecessary explosions, like when the Johnny car explodes, just kind of unnecessary inclusion, but one that's welcomed because, another special effect that they had to pay for and stuff and manage. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that the effects are pretty good and the action, is pretty throughout. It's pretty consistent.
Once Arnold goes secret agent mode, the film doesn't let up on the action.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
and the squibs are fucking beautiful. They're so beefy and so impactful. Whether they get shot in the body or shot in the head, it's so fucking oh, you thought RoboCop was ultra violent? Let's see what they're let's take it up a notch.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. The gunfights, there's nothing super, wow, what a great job. But they just, look great. And when they had the slow motion, Michael Ironside's diving through the glass, amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that for the most part, even for 1990, the special effects are actually pretty good. The prosthetics are fairly good. Even the close-up sequences, especially with Arnold taking out the little tracking device from his brain, done pretty well, all things considered.
The only one that looks stupid is him when he's dressed up as the lady trying to get through customs, and he keeps saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Nothing, old lady. Hello, boys.
I know.
Which, speaking of, what are your thoughts about being on Mars and glass domes because they haven't terraformed it. So if you go outside, your head will explode.
Right. Yeah.
The fact that every asshole in this film has a gun with bullets that can break the glass.
Pretty dumb. I mean, again, I think they talk about that a little bit in the movie where Michael Ironside's shooting around and like, don't do that. You're gonna break the dome. You're gonna crack the dome. Yeah, it's kind of dumb to be having guns in that scenario, but
that whole like when he shoots and like during that scene, like with Arnold like surprise as like the lady and like the area's decompressed and people are flying out. It's fucking great and it looks great, but it's like that's so fucking stupid. Like all I can think of is like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and it's like, why do these people when they're fighting close quarters on these ships use like axes? And it's like, well, because there's these particles in the air, so if they fire their laser guns, it would set off a chain event that would kill everybody. It's like, oh, so nobody thought of that on Mars as they built these, giant domes. Like, either if the glass isn't going to be bulletproof, this is what you guys are going to run around with to, take care of shit.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it's dumb to do that, but I think that adds to the sort of like Alice in Wonderland element of Total Recall, which like not all of the things that are occurring
have to make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Need to make sense. They don't always need to make sense because it's part of the recall memory. And
wow, way to also, that's a great line, and also tied into the Matrix.
Right. Yeah, it does. I mean, it definitely does tie into the Matrix. I think it certainly helped influence the Matrix a bit, whether they recognize it or not. I think
Oh, I'm sure the Wachowski sisters did.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's definitely and again, Dan O'Bannon as a writer, very influential throughout his career. From Alien to Total Recall to Return of the Living Dead. I mean, the man wrote some good movies. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that whether intentional or not, The Matrix was definitely influenced by stuff like Total Recall. Anything else we didn't discuss?
What did you think about the gentle rolling under the doors?
Yeah. And that's not just like a one-time thing.
It's like a
three times where people have to roll under closing doors. Again, too, don't you love how in the future, I guess I should say, in the past, they envisioned the future having a lot of like airlock doors, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, they thought that was going to be the thing that everybody had in their compounds.
They corrected it in Starship Troopers because the captain gets crushed by one like instantly. Here, I know you're not a TNG fan, but I was dying laughing at the slow barrel rolls under the door because it reminded me of poor LeVar Burton in episode TNG, like famously rolling under a door that's like coming down so slow. It's like, Jordy, you could have ducked down and been like, yeah. And like he's got that look of like, yeah, I did it. There's a lot of fun though. It's all kind of stupid, but I think that's the point.
Yeah. Again, I think this doesn't need to make a whole lot of sense. I think it's sort of got that action star feel to it of this is how a guy who's envisioning himself in a fantasy film might think of things. So
how do you? Well, sorry, I was gonna say, what do you think? Like, do you think the film's got any like messages? Is it saying anything about like colonialism or authoritarianism, or is it just kind of using it funnily to do something? Like, do you think it's got like the teeth that RoboCop and like Starship Troopers got?
I mean, I think that it's a little bit less satirical than RoboCop, but at the same time, I think inherently the idea of having a dude who's colonizing Mars is, a pretty basic element of fascism that's pretty much set up in this film. So I think that, yes, it does, but does it make a huge statement about it or anything, or does it kind of just propose it as sort of the whole overarching plot? I think it's probably more so just in that regard. I do think it has other aspirations besides, trying to discuss fascism or authoritarianism or anything like that. More so the fact that it just wants to sort of present you a guy with a midlife crisis who, instead of buying a motorcycle, gets takes a recall memory trip to Mars. So, I think it has different aspirations to it. Somewhat satirical, but I think it's a bit less than some of Verhoeven's other movies, in my opinion. I don't know what you think.
I would agree. I get the angles there, but I think it's more like we say all the time with Dawn of the Dead. I think it's definitely used more as like just a basic plot device instead of something grand. Because again, I think those ideas are better explored in other films, and here, especially tying into with like the whole secret agent thing, it's there to like make the final boss feel more threatening. Especially because like it's not really nuanced or anything. It's just like there's points where in the film, like where him and Sharon Stone are talking about the news and stuff. He's like, but Cohagen says this, and it's like they don't like. It's just kind of there, and it's not talked about any further. So I think it's just there more as a fun plot device than it is any real deep thinking.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's probably what was being achieved there. Anything else?
I don't know. You got anything else?
I think that's about it. I think we covered it. All right, so we got to give Total Recall a rate. Actually, well, I guess I should ask before we do the rating. Would you partake in a recall?
No. Fuck no.
Not at all? Not even if it was just like you take a 1 week vacation to the beach?
No.
No recall?
I don't care if it's like a 2 week trip with like Milana Vayntrub and Aubrey Plaza. No.
You don't like it messing with your mind?
No, I'm so afraid of technology reaching the brain. Like that's like a phobia I have, because it's like, what the who's in control of that technology? Like, so no, I would not be made for these times at all. I would be long dead. So no, I would never. How about you? Would you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it is a sticky wicket to have a memory like that where you've given yourself something that didn't exist, and now forever you believe it did. I think that's pretty dangerous, and I think that's. I mean, whether the film comments on that or not, that is sort of the idea behind fascism, is to rewrite what has been done previously and sort of make it okay. And I feel like there's a weird, synergy there between doing that to yourself, where you basically say like, well, my life up to this point hasn't been enough, so I need to add this memory to it to make it, make it more renowned,
tolerable.
Yeah,
and
not only that, but I feel like, and the film doesn't touch on this at all, but I feel like there is an element of like a drug to that, where you would get addicted to giving yourself memories that you didn't have, to the point where like, where does it end? Where does it stop?
Yeah, it'd be a new high. And you're right too, because I think like I can't remember if you've ever seen it or not, but like Shutter Island, we're at the end where when Mark Ruffalo's talking to DiCaprio about like, are you ready for like live life, or are you going back? And he's like, he slips back into the story because of lobotomy, and being able to forget everything is better than knowing the truth.
Right.
And that's the same thing kind of here. Even though it's like a harmless vacation or anything, it's like, again, it's not a real experience. You're not really experiencing what's going on. It's a, event that's created for your mind. Again, I'm not like, as much as I love like cyberpunk and stuff like this, like as it, for story settings, and like it ain't for me, that life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with Elon Musk, like, you want to put my South African chip in you? Like, no. You want like,
Yep.
fuck no, I'm not built for those times.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, so let's give Total Recall a rating on a scale of 0 to 10. Dude with kids, 5 kids, which Benny just describes throughout the film until he becomes the
4 kids.
5 kids. He's got 5 kids.
No, I know, but when he get, and he's like, I got 4 kids,
Yeah.
and then Arnold's like, I thought you said you had 5. He's like, God, clever fuck.
I love that callback that keeps coming through. I got 5 kids to feed. What would you give Total Recall?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I love this movie. It's a great film. It's great, not just great science fiction. It's not just great action. It's a great film, period. It's so much fun. It's so engaging. There's a lot of great talk and thought to be had with it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is probably one of my favorite roles that he's ever done, because by this time, he's not just does he spit out one-liners? Yes. But he's actually, at times, really acting here. He does a great job. The story's great. The premise is great. Excuse me. Pacing's great. Verhoeven nails down the action to a T. The effects, for the most part, 90% of them, hold up amazingly well. It's really well thought out, nuanced. Can't recommend it enough. Is this my favorite Verhoeven film? It might be. Be honest with you, it's hard. It's kind of hard because you watch one and then you watch another, and you're like, but it's great. During this time period, there was probably no other director to be. He was on Coppola's run in the 70s with The Godfather, Conversation, The Godfather 2, and Apocalypse Now. Everything he did was, and it's the same thing with Verhoeven here. It's great. This is a perfect, damn near perfect film. Not a lot of negatives I could think of. And again, I know we didn't talk about a lot of the side actors, but Michael Ironside, he's always a treasure. He's always great. He's always a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen this, you need to see this movie. Check it out. It's fucking great. 9 out of 10.
Yep, I would give this an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a really fun movie. I don't think I enjoy it as much as some of the Paul Verhoeven films, but I think that it's still really effective. It has a great idea set up by Philip K. Dick and then kind of extended in this film. Arnold is really good in this. At times, especially in the earlier 80s when he was first starting out with the action films, his acting wasn't as great as it kind of became as he kind of got into the role a little bit better. I think this one, he does a great job of negotiating between the action film star and sort of the more everyman character that the film kind of expects of him. And it works really well. The whole setup of the science fiction atmosphere is really well done in Total Recall 2. They manage a good sort of verisimilitude of all of the futuristic elements to it, and works really well. I think the whole design of it, from where we start out with the futuristic setting to when we go to Mars, it all looks great, and Mars itself has a nice personality of its own with that red hue that it keeps coming back to. Overall, very well done, great action, an engaging storyline, and I think ultimately it leads to a really fun bit of scenes that continue throughout. So there's a lot of specific elements that you could point to in this movie that are really kind of memorable. But at the same time, I do feel at times that the movie does kind of fall into a rut of we have to go to this place and then go back to this place. And it's even commented on by Benny at one point. There's you're just going around in circles. That's my one complaint of this movie, that I do feel that it does at times feel like it does just kind of become, let's go from setting A to setting B to setting A to setting B. And it kind of just does that run through. But I think overall it's very fun and engaging.
Like a video game fetch quest.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, exactly. which again, you can kind of blame on, oh, well, maybe it's just the recall memory that is sort of limited to the settings that it can go to. But that was my one complaint with the film. But other than that, I think it's really well done, and I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. All right, so that's our episode on Total Recall for Red Hot 90s Action Summer. Next up, I think we are going to a different futuristic setting.
That's right.
And it's not New York.
It's Austin Powers International Man of Mystery.
Yeah, we're going to LA. Returning to a director that we've done a number of films on, John Carpenter. We're escaping from LA, actually.
Have you seen Escape from LA?
I have, unfortunately. I have.
I have not.
Okay, you haven't seen it yet. Definitely not one of the better films in John Carpenter's canon, for sure. But maybe I've only seen it once, so maybe going back to it, I'll have a different appreciation of it. I do remember the CGI is particularly bad.
Well, hold on. Put it in 1995.
I still think it's particularly bad. Like, in Total Recall, has some great background effects. Especially even now, just looking at sort of the either the painted backdrops or the CGI backdrops look great. And we'll see in Escape from LA that is not the case for those. So
I think it's part of, at least I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But it seems like it's part of the Carpenter downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Because Body Bags in 90, which we did in 93, and Into the Mouth of Madness, great film, by the way. Go check it out, our review. It's one of our early ones. Because it goes Village of the Damned, Escape from New York, Vampires, and Ghost of Mars. So it's like
Escape from LA, and then
Yeah. So I mean,
it is part of that. Yeah, part of the slow decline of Carpenter films, I think.
Which Village of the Damned, which we did watch that or listen to that review.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad movie, but it's not. There's nothing there to make it worthwhile outside of the original. So
yeah,
I would definitely be interested to see it because I've seen like a couple of clips here and there, like the whole like surfing thing. Don't really remember it, but it's like, yeah, I can't wait to kind of see, how the hell this even happened? Like who's like, yeah, hey, Kurt wants to do this. You sure? Sure. And also too, because again, I do know it's corny and shit. To be like, yeah, this is the sequel to Escape from New York. Like, why?
Yeah.
So
it should be fun. You can catch that episode next. And if you want to tune in, you should subscribe on pretty much any podcast app that you use. We're on it. Spotify or Apple Podcasts app or anything else, we're there. So subscribe, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook and Blue Sky. Search for us on there. We have an email address at bloodandbackrunpodcast@gmail.com where you can write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to cover, and we'll take that into consideration. And you can also donate to us on our Patreon or Spotify page. Anything you donate goes back towards beer. So we appreciate that in advance. Thanks for listening to our episode on Total Recall. Hope you keep tuning in all month long for Red Hot 90s Action Summer Reloaded. And until next time,
take care.